Okay, I'm gonna try to get this review out for y'all. You know, if you didn't watch Survivor Series, you know, like WWE has this reputation of just not giving us 10 out of 10 shows. And I went into this knowing it wasn't going to be like a 10 out of 10, but it was kind of in WWE universe terms, I'm going to say it was like a 7. Okay, let's just say it was a 7. But we're going to start it off and kind of get through this quick. I'm not trying to make like a 20 to 30 minute video. So you had the Survivor Series women's WarGames match first. Now y'all know who was in the match, so I don't have to, you know, go through every person and name every person, but y'all know who was in the match. And, you know, this wasn't a Raw versus SmackDown match. It was basically baby faces versus heels. So there was like zero story kind of behind this. And I don't want to say just totally zero, but, you know, you had the Kabuki Warriors, you know, trying to face off against Io Sky. Like, you know, y'all, you know, we was, you know, Damage Control, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Io, you should, you know, choose to, you know, be with us. That was like part of the story. Then you had Rhea involved. Then, you know what people forget? The Kabuki Warriors are actually the women's tag team champions. So that's how you get Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, you know, in the mix. Now, Nia Jax and Lash Legend just, you know, they fell in place, you know. And we're going to talk about that a little more. You know, Nia Jax does her thing. You know, she's Nia Jax. She's a heel. You know, no one really cared that much in this match. Then the biggest thing I want to take away is Lash Legend. You know, Lash Legend dominated the WarGames match when she came out. You know, she kind of reminded you of like when Kane first kind of came. Like, she was beating the shit out of people. But, you know, she got zero crowd reaction. You know, zero crowd reaction, and two things. You know, the truck didn't pump in crowd noise, which was a shame, because they'll pump in crowd noise for anybody. And her theme music sucks. And I just feel like it's done on purpose, to be honest. I think it's done on purpose. I think Triple H wants Lash Legend to fail. And what's going to happen, her in-ring ability to be a tough woman is going to kind of oversee that. But, you know, one thing Bianca had was her promo skills. I think people liked her promo skills. Lash Legend is going to have to get very good on the mic and get over with the fans in WWE, because, you know, Triple H, like Bron, he just wants her to fail because, one, you're going to give her some fire music. You know, Stephanie Vaquer could get the, you know, rock star music and all of that. You know, Lash Legend literally has like a drum track. You know, it is horrible. You know, if she could get the crowd on her side. You know, I mean, look at the Samoans. They got great music. But when we saw that, you know, she got zero crowd reaction. But once she start beating their ass, like, the crowd kind of came alive a little bit. So Lash gonna have to get over on her own. Triple H not about to sink any money in it. I mean, Becky Lynch, when she wasn't getting crowd reactions, boom, they changed that music. They changed that music fast. And Becky Lynch is like the ultimate heel right now. And the fact that AJ Lee hit the Widow's Peak or whatever, I forgot, the Black Widow or whatever. She hit that move to get the tap so they could win. I mean, it just felt undeserving a little bit, but I guess storyline wise, they have to do it to Becky or whatever. The women's WarGames match, this one, it wasn't the best. Wasn't the best one, but the way it ended, I always wanted to see Asuka do the miss. Like, I don't know why she was holding that back, but she must listen to the fans and said, hey, I'm gonna utilize the miss more. She missed, and she made a mistake and missed Lash Legend. And once that happened, that we knew they was gonna lose. So after that, the babyface women won, and it's kind of like, wish there was a reason to celebrate more, but it wasn't. But we gonna move over. We're gonna move over to John Cena versus Dominic, which John Cena versus Dominic, I want to say they put on a good show. They put on a good show. I'm not about to go through the entire thing, but basically, Dominic fakes an injury. Like, I mean, I don't like people faking the injuries. We kind of need to stop that. We need to stop that. Like, the injuries are real. Like, Penta just got injured. That wasn't a fake. When Seth Rollins does it, maybe you could get away with that. But Dominic faked this injury. When I looked at it, I was like, man, come on. He landed on the top of his shoulders or whatever. So Dominic fakes the injury. And you get Raquel and
there are police reported ahead.
you get, what's her name? You get Raquel and what is that? Roxanne. It was drawing a blank. They beat up John Cena. And I don't have a problem with this because Raquel and Roxanne, I know John Cena wanted this. I just know he wanted it. They get to be ultimate heels and beat up John Cena, hit him with their finishing move. It was just John Cena saying, hey, add something to y'all highlight career, because a woman's never gonna get to beat up John Cena like talking about. That's the only reason I didn't care too much. And when that didn't work, Dominic tried some other heelish stuff. Didn't work. The other members of Judgment Day,
there are police reported ahead.
Came out. That didn't work. John Cena hit a double FU. I'm calling it a FU. I'm not calling that attitude adjustment. FU. He hit double FUs. That still didn't work. Then I knew this was going to happen. Like, I just knew Dominic was going to retain. But you had Liv Morgan come out there. And I mean, Liv Morgan is that person that you need in your corner. If Liv Morgan is in your corner, you gonna win. So she slaps Dominic, hugs John Cena, And like what people don't realize is that Liv Morgan did the John Cena heel turn on John Cena. That's what it was supposed to be, because that's why the camera went to her eyes and she, you know, got those big eyes or whatever. And then, you know, I don't know if she low blowed John Cena. I forgot. I think she did. I think she kicked him in the nuts or whatever. And then gave Dominic the title. Dominic hit John Cena or whatever with the title and all that, and then retained it. So what did that tell you? The entire Judgment Day couldn't save Dominic, and it took Liv Morgan. Like, Liv Morgan and Dominic, look, we love Dominic and Rhea. You know, they played their role, but Liv Morgan, and Dominic is perfect. You know, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. We needed this. Don't wear it out, but Dominic needs Liv Morgan. I want to say to take him to the top. You know, when like Dominic being double champion and Liv Morgan go after Stephanie Vaquer, it's over. You know, it's over. I think it was almost perfect timing, because, you know, if Naomi was still here, Naomi would still be champion, or Triple H to try to pull that fire from under her. But whenever Naomi comes back, it's gonna be the truth, and hopefully she comes back to Raw. But, you know, it was a good match. I mean, overall, I honestly, the Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella, I kind of skipped through that. It was a long match. You know, honestly, it had zero crowd reaction until Stephanie Vaquer literally hit her last 3 moves. I don't know if people were just wore out, or, Stephanie Vaquer can go. You know, Stephanie Vaquer can go. Stephanie Vaquer and like Mercedes Moné is one of like the best matches ever. And I think that was in, I want to say Maple Leaf Wrestling. I don't remember, our Major League Wrestling. One of those shows that they fought. And Stephanie Vaquer, you know, #1 rising star. It looked like Stephanie Vaquer was getting pissed off in that match. Like, you can tell by like her facial expression. I don't know if Nikki Bella was messing up. You know, I can't tell, but you can tell by Stephanie Vaquer's face that, you know, she was unhappy. You're like, we're gonna have to do a deeper dive and do some more research. Maybe Maven or somebody picked up on it, but we noticed I don't know. Stephanie Vaquer is like an on-point wrestler, like almost like how Rey Mysterio is. You know, they don't really botch. They don't mess up. I didn't visually kind of just see Nikki Bella just totally botch, which we know Nikki Bella botches because she's from that era where, you know, women wrestling started becoming better, but still botching. But, you know, Stephanie Vaquer with the win all day. We knew that. But she was just like zero smiles, zero emoting for the crowd. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it was. But I'm going to give this match a 3 out of 10 because every signature move Stephanie Vaquer did get to 1 point. So at least it got a 3 out of 10. You know, and then we're going to move on to the last match. The men's WarGames match, which for some reason, like, I expected Bron Breakker and the Usos and Logan Paul to carry this match to actually you know, do a lot of stuff, maybe a lot of dives off the cage, or, you know, diving through maybe both ropes, or doing some, you know, some other stuff. I mean, if they wasn't gonna do stuff, at least you could have put Javon Evans on you could take out Jimmy Uso and put Javon Evans. You know, you could have did that. But, I mean, just gonna hit some points. Bron Breakker falls off on his head. I honestly thought Bron Breakker, like, career might have been over. That was like the worst botch of the year. Bron Breakker landed on his head. He didn't even like try to over rotate. And this is a guy that does the Frankensteiner, like, you know, that's the third rope move. I mean, I don't know what Bron Breakker deal was. Like, it wasn't, unless Cody held on to his feet and he couldn't turn. I mean, Bron Breakker didn't even try to like put his hands out. He just said, F it, I'm gonna land on my head. I hate wrestling. Like, I don't want to wrestle no more. I want to break my neck so I don't have to wrestle. I mean, he didn't even try to protect himself. So, don't know what that was about. Next, I noticed, you know, Logan Paul, you know, he came out, got a pop or whatever. Logan Paul gets in the ring, does his stuff, and then at some point he climbs the top of the cage. Then Cody follows him up there. And I'm like, okay, they're setting up for a top cage dive or something. So they get to the top of the cage and does that little sit down thing. Logan Paul scoots closer. They just punch each other. They punch each other, does the back and forth punch each other. And then I think Drew McIntyre or something, you know, either gets a kendo stick or a chair and like hits Cody's legs. And then Cody kind of just brings himself back in the ring. And then Logan Paul climbs down. So they went to the top of the cage for no reason. This tells me one thing. 90% of this match was improvised. There was no planned setups, except maybe for like 3 spots. Other than that, they were just brawling. And the brawling was just practice. You know, on Monday nights, they were just brawling to practice. You know, the match didn't really pop off until Brock came out there. Brock totally dominated. And, of course, it was just improvised. He gave some people the F5s, gave him the German suplex, gave him the belly suplex. And then Roman comes out, and I like this part. Brock leaves the cage because the match ain't start yet. Like that, I mean, it took like 9 WarGames matches for people to realize, hey, I can actually leave the cage because the last person isn't in yet. So he goes out to fight to fight Roman. Roman hits him with like 3 Superman punches to draw him to the other side of the cage, which I like. I mean, I thought they was going to do more, but Roman goes in for that 4th Superman punch. Boom, F5 through the announce table. That was great. You know, got Roman out of here, but he picks Roman up. And they start punching and fighting, and, you know, Brock gets him back in the cage. Boom, the match starts. You know, still dominating, but I like this too. Roman takes Logan Paul's brass knuckles. And I'm like, okay, this is how they're going to end Brock Lesnar. Because a Superman punch from Logan Paul with the brass knuckles ain't a Superman punch from Roman like that. If Roman hits you with the Superman punch with the brass knuckles, I mean, that's an automatic 3. But he doesn't get it on Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, like, reverses something from Jey Uso. Goes for a F5. Roman spears him through the table that Jimmy Uso brought in. And crazy part, that's enough to take out Brock. So not only does Roman get put through a table F5 outside, he gets beat up more inside the cage, but Brock Lesnar getting speared through a table in the WarGames cage, he's like hurt the rest of the match. I mean, plot armor, right? I mean, it's fine because it's coming to the end of the match. So then, you know, you don't have Super Cody and you don't have Super CM Punk in this match. I mean, CM Punk kicked out of like 1,000,000 curb stomps and all this other stuff. But when it comes to the WarGames match, when you have the ultimate team, you can't do nothing. So some mysterious person comes in the ring and curb stomps CM Punk and leaves. Now, we don't know who this person is. We don't know their physique. He did the curb stomp because they probably want us to think it's Seth Rollins, but it isn't. I think WWE sucks. I think Triple H and him have zero creativity. And I honestly think this was probably Seth Rollins anyway. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked. Because, I mean, who else could it be? It won't be Randy Orton. Randy Orton wouldn't agree to do this. Could it be Chris Jericho or Edge? Nah. WWE sucks. They wouldn't pay for that. You know, we don't know who it could be. It's damn sure not Gunther. Like, it's probably Seth Rollins for some reason. I mean, I don't know who that would be. You know, it's probably not Damian Priest. It's probably not Aleister Black. You know, and they would have to want to feud with CM Punk. You know, it ain't Becky Lynch. They have no clue who this could be. No clue. It ain't Carlito. You know, but that was the end. That was the end of it. 1, 2, 3. Bron Breakker hits his spear. Bullshit. And Bron Breakker getting the win was perfect. You know, I liked it. It solidified, you know, Bron Breakker's moving up the chain. He got the win over CM Punk. You know, CM Punk took that pin. Bron Breakker hit his spear and they got the 3. And that was WarGames. You know, like I said, WarGames, you know, some people saying it's like the worst pay-per-view ever. It's kind of hard for WarGames to be just a terrible pay-per-view, but it was a solid 6. It was a solid 6 because it's, you know, it was almost a disappointment. I mean, you had Cody, Punk, and Roman on the same team, and the Usos are like a great tag team. You had younger people like Logan Paul, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed. The Usos are still young for what they do. And nobody dived off the cage. Nobody did anything. There was like, I think CM Punk was bleeding. I mean, no one else wants to bleed. I mean, man, people was bleeding in the Attitude Era, and even before the Attitude Era, they were bleeding more. So, I mean, Logan Paul, you gotta bleed, man. You know, you gotta get some color. All the other people gotta get some color too. I don't even know what to say, but I'm gonna just say solid 6. Solid 6 out of 10. That's all it was, and I didn't want to make this video too long. It's already about to hit 26 minutes. So like, comment, subscribe, and put in the comment section who y'all think the mystery person was. I'm out.